morning, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Kurt Roth, and this is the 505 Sports Vents. Coach Pitino often says any one of his players can walk in at any time and say, I'm transferring. Obviously, that's just part of today's game, but we want to minimize that here in Albuquerque. So we need you. We need the consumers. We need the fans. We need the supporters, whatever you call yourself. If you want this to continue, and if you were at the game last night or the week before, you know what's going on in the pit. And that atmosphere, that emotion, that success is...
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro V. From pros to
Shawty, she better than all my attention. I can show that you got my attention. See your baby like you to the business. Touchdown and tell you a visit.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. If you're watching, you can see my guest is here, familiar to many people in Albuquerque, if not visually on the air. Radio personality, voice of the Lobo women's basketball, JJ Buck. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Kurt. Appreciate it.
Well, it's exciting time for Lobo sports. We're in the midst of basketball season. We're going to talk about both men and women, but let's start with, we're coming off last night's game in the pit. Let's start with the men's basketball team. Big crowd, not completely sold out. Sunday night, 8 o'clock, 2 NFL games, the middle of winter, over 15,000. Pretty impressive. Only game on national TV last night. Good showcase for the Lobos. Generally, what are your thoughts?
I was very impressed with 15,000 people Sunday night, 8 o'clock. I think it helps that it was also Steve Alford and Craig Neal that were coming down that ramp to add that extra energy. But I expect the pit every game the rest of the way to be that atmosphere. Because the fans see the product on the court, that Richard Pitino has raised the expectations. This team is living up to those expectations. And the fan base, there's expectations on these fans to be loud, to be rowdy, to show up regardless. And that's what we're getting right now. It's just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, this is it's sort of the message I've been trying to promote forever, or since we started 505, but this is a community deal. So you just hit on something. The fans in that gym, which is one of the most unique places in the world for sports, have a duty. Let's fill it up. Let's be loud. For whatever reason, built into the ground, that's one of the loudest venues you can ever play in. And we do. As a fan, as a supporter, you have a role in this. So why not do it?
Absolutely. And it's one, too, in sports, even when you're a diehard fan, you want some, all right, what am I getting back? And now Lobo fans are seeing, they're getting winning, they're seeing good play, they're seeing a team full of a bunch of great guys that are playing their hearts out. And it all comes together to have one of the best environments in college basketball.
Yeah, and you did bring up something. Yes, it was Steve Alford and Noodles and a raucous atmosphere. Personal question, because I have feelings, very strong feelings about this. Steve Alford and Noodles come down the ramp and they're loudly booed. What do you think about that?
You know, I'm okay with that in the moment because you're being a Lobo fan. I think there's time for the broader discussion of what Steve Alford did at UNM is bringing back the expectation of going to the NCAA tournament year in and year out, competing for Mountain West titles. But kind of like in the moment, I understand as a fan, you're just hyper-focused on those guys left us for what, or at least Steve Alford left for what he thought was something better. You had the couple years with Craig Neal that weren't great after that, great class left. So if it's just booing, I'm okay with it from a fan standpoint right there.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a difference there. There's some subtle difference. I got to know Steve Alford very well. I respected him, and his body of work at UNM is as good as anybody's. You got to put him up there with, our best coaches, Ellenberger, King. That's where he stands. I personally couldn't boo him. I just couldn't boo him. I respect him too much. He's done a really good job at Nevada. And it's college basketball. I understand people are fans. I have a whole issue, and it's a personal just booing college kids. I don't know. I've done it. And, when Lucas threw that elbow into House, I knew what it was, and I gave him a little noise. But and you can see me down in the front row. I will have a little discussion at times with the opposition. But I can't boo Steve Alford. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the game. What impressed me most was the total team effort. There was no, House was House, 21, a bunch of assists and 5 steals. But the whole lineup contributes, and it's deep.
Yeah, it's what we're seeing. The start of conference play, it's the first time that Richard Pitino could figure out what his rotation is going to look like. Because you had House out, Mash out, so they could never really get a feel of what they were going to be. And in Mountain West play, you've seen it. It's Mustafa Amzil. I've been really impressed with his play off the bench. True Washington has continued that this entire season. But it's also that everyone is comfortable in their roles. There's some players on the bench that might have thought they would be playing more minutes. They're not. But everyone, you can see they're locked in. The character of this team is strong. I think that has really helped their rhythm, is that everyone knows, all right, this is what expected of me this game in my minutes.
Yeah, one point I want to touch on is Jamal Mashburn Jr. Out in Henderson, the Lobos played some really good games in that Bulldogs Classic. They didn't run into any really strong teams. Toledo maybe was the best. And they did it a lot without Mash. And they scored a bunch of points, and people were saying, Mash this, Mash that, he'll slow it down. And he came back, and it was a little adjustment period. He looked a little out of sync. But I believe, knowing Mash, that his injury to his hand was much worse than he let on. He's a tough kid, never missed a practice until this year. I think he struggled with it. He fought his way back, and man, does he look tough. Nevada, when he got inside the top of the key, he was going to score. Plus, he hit a couple of threes, so big difference. If you downplay Mash, he led the league in scoring last year.
Yeah, you know that Jamal Mashburn was going to find it, and it's just figuring out a rhythm. Like Mashburn, his field goal attempts might be down, but he's still going to maximize his efficiency with his mid-range game, be a tough shot maker for you. And it's also just the energy that all these guys are playing with on the defensive end, and that's a big difference from last year's team. Is last year they could score the basketball, but I love the way the pieces fit with this team because of Nelly Jr. Joseph and JT Top, and they give you a different dynamic defensively, and that only helps those guys on the perimeter, because when they're playing pressure basketball, they're turning you over, they know, hey, maybe I can cheat a little bit more, because if the opponent's coming downhill, you're going to have to run into Nelly or JT right inside.
No doubt about it. And one last point on Mash. Sometime, maybe Wednesday night, following week in Wyoming, NCAA tournament, Las Vegas, we're going to need a big shot in crunch time. And that young man is not going to be afraid to take it, and he's most likely going to make it. Anyway, we'll be back. We're going to talk Lady Lobos right after the break. Stay with us. Cool.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready.
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, my mom.
As Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together
Pull together.
to make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
If you're you're drunk.
Blasted.
Intoxicated.
Rip. Plastered.
Destroyed, bruh.
If you're like this, you shouldn't be driving.
Our second segment here of the 505 Sports Venture Program. Back with us. He stayed on during the break. JJ Buck, thanks for staying. Let's talk Lady Lobos, or women's basketball. I want to be precise in my language. They're on a roll.
It's so much fun to watch right now. This was a team that a lot of new pieces this year, and it took them some time. They had definitely some bumps in the road in non-conference play. There were some questions like, is this team going to be able to score the basketball? Are they going to figure it out? But then they got to conference play, and you just saw it click. And they're 6-2 in conference right now, coming off a double-digit road win at Air Force. But you can really go back to that UNLV game they played 2 Saturdays ago. It's a Lady Rebel team that's won the conference back-to-back years. They had a 29-game winning streak against Mountain West opponents. And the Lobos went in there, snap that streak, beat him on the home floor. Just an incredible moment.
Well, yeah, I love that game because it wasn't like the Lobos rolled out. Like you see some of these upsets, teams come out on fire, they build up a lead, and they hold on. That was like a heavyweight fight. They traded blows back and forth, and down the stretch, the Lobos just executed play after play. They weren't holding on. They were going for the jugular.
Yeah, and that's the character of this team because they had some games where they struggled to score offensively, so they've been in a lot of close basketball games, and they've learned how to make those plays in the second half. Because they trailed at half, they trailed going into the fourth quarter at UNLV, but they knew that if we keep it close, this UNLV team, they were blowing people out at home. So if you keep it close, you put a little doubt in the opponent's mind and give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I think, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty of this when I talk about the Lady Lobos and all teams, is that the players, this is a relatively new team, a bunch of new kids, and we all expect them to mesh immediately. And they're relatively young people. They've, let's example, we have a Charlie Cole from Germany, from Mississippi to Albuquerque. We got Nia Wilson from Syracuse. We want them to be immediately gelled, and it apparently doesn't work that way because we see Charlie come up double was She's getting to be more and more consistent, but Nia Wilson, wow.
Yeah, it's one thing too because you mentioned Charlie Cole. She was at Mississippi State 3 years, but she was a rotation player, and already this season she's played more minutes than she did in her first 3 years. So that's an adjustment of being a starter, being out there game in and game out. And the same thing for Nia Wilson. And I asked Coach Bradbury about that on Saturday, about these players, surpassing the minutes that they played. And he brought up that same thing. He's like, yeah, Nia Wilson was at Syracuse, but she was a bench player. Like, she hadn't played consistently, so she had to shake off some of that rust because she was a top 100 recruit coming out of high school to go play at a power conference school. And now you're seeing it. She has 6 20-point games, 4 of those in Mountain West play. She's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, I watched her early on. I was really excited, and we saw glimpses. We didn't see the consistent performance. And again, these are young people. Their confidence, some of them are born with it. Sometimes you lose it. And now we see her, from a month ago, Nia is a completely different player. And we've got, Cumber and Paula. They're kind of steady, and now Augman's been just off the charts. She's also become much more confident.
Oh, yeah, Nia Augman has been tremendous, and she's a player that her first 2 years, and even back in high school, she played off the ball. She was more of a wing player, and coming into this season, they're like, now you're going to be our starting point guard. Like, that wasn't necessarily the plan, but it's kind of what presented itself, and she has blossomed into that because Nia Augman, on and off the court, tremendous character, vocal leader, backing up with her play. The Mountain West Player of the Week a week ago. and it's coming together at the right time for the women.
No, she looks just awesome. She's a speed merchant out there on the court. And I love to watch defenders just stop and start and go the wrong way while she does her thing. All right, so tomorrow they fly out to San Jose.
Yep, San Jose State on Wednesday, and these are the challenges. We talk about 8:30 start times for the men. Well, the women are going to go play 11 a.m. Pacific time game on Wednesday. So you got to get up, you got to get going, and that's what's in front of you.
Well, what do you know about San Jose State's team?
So San Jose State, it's one, you look at the box score, they're 1-6
Right.
in Mountain West play, and so as a Lobo fan, you're like, that's a game you have to go out and get, which is true. But April Phillips, their second-year head coach, she's hit the transfer portal. She is kind of trying to sell the city of San Jose to kids, and they have a potential Mountain West freshman of the year and love it. This kid is averaging almost 20 points per game in conference play. So it's one of those things. If you let like one player get going, it could be a longer down the road. But this Lobo team, I believe in the fight that they have.
Well, it'd also be interesting. I was in San Jose last week for the Lobo men. I can only imagine that was a game against a top 25 men's team. And I don't know, the gym it's not really a gym, it's a field house. It has no seats on one side behind the basket. And it was relatively quiet. Lobo fans, maybe we had 200 or 300 Lobo fans, which are great. But I can only imagine 11 o'clock start on a weekday. They could introduce the players to each fan, I think, for that. So there's going to be a need to create your own emotion. You just can't fall into that, whatever that will be.
Absolutely. It is, it's getting the opportunity to go around the Mountain West Conference, and it's special what the women have here, too, for the support that they get, that you go in there, and it's a good atmosphere, because there are some gyms you go into, and there's a couple hundred people there. It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, so we've got a big one, afternoon game. I know they'll fly back on Wednesday, and then we've got Boise on Wednesday night. So we're going to take another break. We'll be back with our final segment. We'll talk about upcoming games and how you can help us at 505sports.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro View Networks.
Teenagers love a party, especially during prom and graduation season. Often alcohol is involved. Some parents think that hosting a party with alcohol in their home will keep the kids safe, but it's wrong and it's illegal. As a parent, to allow your teenagers' underage friends to consume alcohol on your property is a felony. Parents who host lose the most. Don't be a party to teenage drinking.
This is a program of the Drug Free Action Alliance. For more information, go to burnco.gov/do-not-host.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here.
And I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay.
We'll put in the work on the field, in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field.
505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space.
And you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my attention. I can show that you got my attention. See your baby, I get to the business. Touchdown and tell you we're busy.
Seriously? You expect me to drive while you aren't wearing seatbelts? What's the worst that can happen? Seriously? Buckle up. Okay, thank you.
Equal Opportunity Collective. And we have a contract, an NIL deal with every women's basketball player. So we want to let you know that when we start talking about retention month in February, we are not just talking about the men's team. We're talking about the women too. So once again, I'm going to keep asking. Help us if you can. 505sports.org. Okay, so now we come back. The men, we talked about San Jose State and the women. Wednesday night, Boise State, Degenhart, Max Rice, our favorite coach, Leon Rice, come back. What can we look forward to there?
I think it's going to be another amazing atmosphere. 8:30. It doesn't matter anymore. This fan base is bought in. They're backing it up. And this is the month of January, the way the schedule played out. It was all the big games outside of Colorado State were at home for the Lobos. And so far, they've handled their business. And they beat Boise State on Wednesday night. They've gone 7-2 in January. And you do your preseason projections right before conference play started. And I said, all right, if they go 7-2, then that will keep them in the race of winning a Mountain West regular season title because you handle your business and then you get those games on the road that you can just start climbing that ladder.
Yeah, they have, after Boise, they have the bye on the weekend. And then it's up to the Dome of Doom.
Yeah.
And just a ridiculous place to play. Obviously, Wyoming pulled a miracle out against Colorado State in the border war. Big game for them. I don't think Lobo fans really realize how important Colorado State and Wyoming is to Colorado State and Wyoming. But that's their Super Bowl. They stormed the court. They went nuts. So that won't be an easy win. And then, of course, the men have, they go on a road trip, Reno, San Diego State, up to Logan. It's tough. It'll be tough. Somehow we don't get Fresno out there, and we don't get Air Force back here. So I don't know how that didn't work well. But yeah, the Lobos will be in a great place if they hold serve at home, and then they just have to go on the road, and we'll see. They'll steal one or two. People are talking that it'll be a problem. I don't think they're going to have any more problems on the road. I mean, other than the road is tough.
Yeah, I do agree. And listening to the post-game comments from both Richard Pitino and Jalen House following the win over Nevada, like that UNLV game was a tipping point for this team. They realized, all right, we have to lock in at a different level. They knew they were good, but it's one thing you lose at Colorado State. You can kind of explain that. Colorado State's a good team, 17 points. But being down 21 at UNLV, I think that was all right, it has to be not just game in and game to game. It has to be day to day with this team with their effort.
Yeah, it seems almost strange to say this because they score and they move the ball at an amazing pace. Could be the highest scoring Lobo team of all time by the time we finish. But I think the key to their success and their offense starts with the defense. And on the road, those shots aren't going to fall. You're not going to go unconscious. Maybe a Mash or a House will have one or two games in their career where they go crazy on the road. But you're not going to get the same breaks. You're not going to have the crowd support. So it's got to start with the defense. And I think the Lobos are primed for that.
And I think it's, when you look at this team as well, it's the way they play, you don't think about defense because they play so fast, but the defense is actually part of their speed. The steals, the blocks, it helps speed the game up, and that's what the Lobos want. They want their opponent being frantic. They want their opponent making mistakes, and then they can capitalize on it.
Yeah, I can't get enough of out on the outside, the high post, Nelly causing havoc, and invariably the ball handler goes away from the basket, and it gives it time for the Lobos to scramble and get reset, and boom, 15 seconds are gone off the clock. All right, so we're going to see. I'm going to make a bold prediction that the Lobos smoke Boise on Wednesday. I watched them against Utah State. Their depth isn't that good. They got tired at the end of the game at home. I mean, that was a battle, and Utah State no one anticipated that. Well, you've seen them. What do you think of that team? I mean, Danny Sprinkle had no players.
Yeah, they are the biggest surprise about what they are now as top of the Mountain West Conference. Your point on Boise is interesting. That's a tough game to lose at home, even against Utah State, because the top teams have to hold serve at home. It's cliche, win your home games, but it's that much more important this year with the amount of good teams we have atop the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's going to be a battle down the stretch. JJ, thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I had a great time. Come back. Anyway, everybody, I just want to say I'm not going to stop asking. We head into February as retention month at 505 SVF. We need everyone to play their part. It doesn't matter if you're a Lobo fan, $1 a month helps us. We are a community-based team and program. We need all your support. You can buy stock in your Lobos, men, women, basketball, Broncos here, football. We have tennis players under contract. We have softball players under contract. Our goal is for every student athlete at UNM to have an NIL deal. We want to make their experience the best it can be, and we want to attract and retain the best student athletes at UNM. And it's up to us as a community to do that. So again, not going to stop asking. You're going to get tired of me. Turn off the TV if you do. 505sports.org. 505sports.org. If you see me on the street, stop me. If you see me in the pit, stop me. Anything you can do to help, we appreciate it. This is our team in our town, in our state. Let's make this happen. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week. 505sports.org. Take care.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Scout, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma, my brother, my tutor, my dad, my mom.
As Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
We thank you.